Welcome to the Show Me the Way podcast. I am your host, Andrea Miller, and I'm so excited to bring this show to you. Show Me the Way is a podcast dedicated to exploring the journeys of those who have faced adversity and found themselves on unexpected paths. We will have meaningful, thoughtful conversations about challenges we have faced and how we discovered and forged new direction. Prepare to be inspired and to uncover your own strength as you listen to relatable and motivating stories. Life has a way of twisting and turning, and we often need a fresh perspective to understand how to navigate. Let's show each other the way. This week on Show Me the Way, I had the joy of interviewing someone I've known since preschool, Corey Gill. Corey and I have over 40 years of history together. Our families were connected, our moms worked together, we played sports, enjoyed music, shared laughs, and thanks to social media, we've been able to reconnect as adults. I've always admired Corey as a strong, competent woman. I love following her hardcore workout routine, her beautiful relationship with her husband, things about her son, who's the same age as my oldest, her daughter, and her adorable grandkids. Corey is a hardworking wife, mom, and grandma who's always striving to improve herself and create the best life for her family. But this past summer, things shifted. Corey's usual worry mode dialed up, leading to a major panic attack that left her struggling to work, to function, and to keep up with her regular routines. What came after was a season of deep anxiety, the kind so many of us quietly battle. We may not all experience a full-blown panic attack, but we often do let worries take over when we try to control everything or chase perfection. Fear creeps in and faith gets pushed aside. In this episode, Corey opens up with incredible honesty about what she went through. She shares what she learned, what she researched, and the steps she's taking now to regulate her nervous system and move forward with hope and intention. Vulnerability is powerful, relatable, and such a gift. This is an important, timely conversation, especially as we head into the holiday season when stress and expectations can run high. I'm honored Corey trusted me with her story, and I know you'll walk away feeling seen, supported, and encouraged. Welcome back to the Show Me the Way podcast. Today's guest is someone I have known for a very long time. She's one of my first friends, as I think we met through our moms in preschool. And then we attended Christ the Good Shepherd Catholic School in Lincoln Park, Michigan from kindergarten through 8th grade. And we played basketball together, softball together. I remember so many times with her. She's probably going to laugh, but including my first freak out during a haunted forest walk. And the first time I ever listened to Bon Jovi, Corey introduced me to Bon Jovi, which is amazing. My guest, I just said, is Corey Gill, and I'm so grateful she reached out to share a recent story on my podcast. Corey's a hardworking mom, wife, and even a grandma, and she inspires many with her dedication to staying strong and fit. Corey seems to be someone who never gives up on herself, her family, or her friends. I do not have the fondest memories of grade school and didn't really love all the various stages. However, Corey was one of those people that always accepted me and treated me like she treated everyone else. I never felt less next to her, even though I could have, as she was quite the athlete. She had more friends. She definitely had thicker skin. But Corey makes me so grateful for Facebook because without it, I wouldn't be able to follow her and she wouldn't have necessarily heard of this podcast. She sent me a message and we decided she'd be a perfect guest, and I'm honored to have her here. I know we will all learn and understand that we are not alone and we can get through difficult times. Welcome to the show, Corey, and thank you so much for connecting with me to be a guest on the Show Me the Way.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, and I was just thinking back today about how long we've known each other. And gosh, I think, yeah, preschool. I remember going to our preschool together and our pictures we have from when we were so
Yes.
young. And just not seeing each other much, obviously, after grade school and then reconnecting through Facebook, I think has been great. I love seeing your posts. You're always inspiring. Always doing something inspiring or saying something inspiring. So you've definitely inspired me with all the things you do with your life. And so it's been great, like meeting you again as an adult.
Yes. Thank
Yeah, it
you.
really has. And then a little more about me. I mean, you said a lot of it. I'm a mom. I have a 28-year-old daughter, a 27-year-old stepdaughter, and a 19-year-old son. My daughter has 2 kids, so I'm a grandma. Her kids are 2.5 and 4 months, and then our stepdaughter also has a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. So,
Okay.
but they live in Oregon, so they live kind of far away from us. So that's a
Okay.
bummer. So we don't get to see them as much, but get to see my daughters often, which is nice. My son still lives at home with us, so not missing him at all yet. But he's working full time. Tried the college thing, wasn't for him. Working full time for his dad's company. They do windows and doors. Shameless plug for Adkins and
Oh,
Sons right now.
yeah. Good to
Yep.
know, and I'm a realtor, so I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. They do great work. He actually just did a door at my house over the summer, so really good job. He loves his job. He loves working. He's just excited to grow in that. And I've been married now for 3 years to my husband. We were together about probably 10 years before we got
Oh,
married. So,
wow. Okay.
and I have two dogs that are like our children now, and a grand cat that I love probably more than I love the dogs. So it's pretty.
Awesome.
Oh, and I also I work. I'm a nurse by trade, director of surgery for a local hospital, which pretty much entails being in charge of the surgery department, the pre-op and recovery areas, and the area where they prepare instruments for surgery. So high stress job, which will come into play throughout this podcast.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah, wow, I didn't realize, yeah. I forgot to mention that we did work with each other for a short time too when I worked at the hospital that she was at. So Corey's been around hospital like for forever. But I was working as a receptionist and both our moms worked there at the time too. That's so crazy to remember that. That just popped into my head.
That's
So
funny.
yeah,
I actually forgot that you worked there. I remember working with Nikki, and I
yeah.
had forgotten until you just said that you did work there for a hot minute too.
Yeah, I guess I forgot too. You're right. It was a hot minute. It's a little stint, but yeah, and my sister's the same. She never left the hospital after that time either because she's a nurse as
Mhm.
well. So that's wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, you are quite the busy person and you definitely do not resemble a grandma at all. So there's that. I can't believe the age we're at and we're having all these memories from when we
I
first met.
know. I know.
So crazy. But wow, yeah. So you've got a lot on your plate. I love that you said grand cat. That's what my mom calls all of our pets, her grand dogs. So that's really cute. Well, great. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, like I said, Corey reached out to me, which was wonderful. I'm really trying to get this message out there that there's this Show Me the Way podcast. And I strongly believe everybody has stories. As Corey was sharing an update about herself, I'm sure there's so many different stories she could tell us because throughout life, we all have plans or we all think we're going in one direction and then things can change. We can decide we need to move to another state. We can decide that we need to switch majors. I mean, just like she said, her son decided to try the school thing and it didn't work out. So now he's doing something different. So we all pivot all the time in life. And the reason I started this podcast was because my younger son, Nathan, as all of my listeners know, has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And he was diagnosed when he was 5. He's 16 now. And when he was diagnosed, our family's life just totally flipped. Like I had no idea what to expect. I had never heard of that type of muscular dystrophy, nor did I know much about muscular dystrophy in general. And every plan we had just had to change. And so it really was a very monumental time in my life because it completely changed my perspective. I think so differently now than I did before he was 5. I was much more of a planner. I was certain that things were going to look a certain way. And after that happened, it was like, okay, nope, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. And sometimes you got to do things messy. Sometimes you just got to try them because tomorrow is not promised. So
Mhm.
after talking about a podcast for a long time, I decided to start it messy and we're still working out the kinks, but it's been great. I've had one full season where I dropped an episode every week for a year. And then this is season 2 and it's still going strong. And I'm loving the fact that it's affecting people and impacting people so much that Corey said, you know what, I'm going through a rough time or I just went through a rough time and I really want to share it because I think other people need to hear about what I went through and learn from it. So, like I always say, sometimes it's a very specific event where people want to talk about that and reflect on that specific moment in time and what they've learned since. Sometimes it's pivots throughout their whole life. I know that Corey represents a specific point in time because that's what she brought to my attention. But again, as I always say, there's no script. Speak what's on your heart. So we are going to let Corey do that. And I know we're all going to learn from her. I know that what she's going to share is going to be not only therapeutic probably for her, but for others, because so many of us feel like we're going through these challenges and these pivots alone, but we really aren't. We truly, truly aren't. And I'm hoping that we're going to get some really good perspective from Corey. I think the timing is perfect. We're going into the holidays, so I think this is really going to be a good story for us all to hear. But with that, I will stop talking and I will turn the microphone over to Corey.
All right. So I guess I'll start at the beginning. I've always been kind of like a worrywart. Even though I don't show it to people, I don't think a lot of people notice that about me. But
Mhm.
I do worry. I worry about like, and I've always been like that. I've always been a what if person, high anxiety. I think it probably serves me well in life because it does keep me structured and keep me moving, but also has its downfalls. And many years ago, when I was getting a divorce from my first husband, I had really high anxiety and a couple panic attacks, which were very scary at the time. But I just kind of thought it's just, the time in my life. I'm going through a lot. And I got past them and moved on and never thought anything about it after that. So fast forward to this summer, everything's going good. My life is like, I feel like my life is slowed down a little bit. My kids are all graduated from high school. They don't need me as much anymore. They're adults. Everything's going great. My husband and I were away for a weekend for our anniversary. Had a great weekend of golf. Had actually just golfed my best game ever, a 99. So super excited.
Wow.
I know. So I was like really excited and we're getting ready to go out to dinner and we head to dinner and we're sitting there and I look at the menu and all of a sudden I was just overtaken with complete and utter panic. Like I thought I was going to die. Just this rush of adrenaline went through my body. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here. Something's wrong with me. So I try to keep it calm on the outside. I said to my husband, I'm just going to go to the bathroom for a minute. I went to the bathroom, completely hyperventilating. And if you've never had a panic attack before, it feels like your body's responding to a bear chasing you, but there is no bear. So everything's just every bell in my body is just going off. The alarms are going off everywhere. I went back to the table. I'm like, I gotta go. Luckily, our hotel was just down the street. I'm like, I'm walking back to the hotel, just grab our food. I gotta go. And he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I just don't feel good. And I went back to the hotel, thought I was gonna pass out probably multiple times on the way back to the hotel. Got back to the hotel, laid on the floor in the fetal position, and just really thinking, should I call an emergency room? My heart's going crazy. I'm sweating. I'm dizzy. Everything feels wrong. And just all these ways, I'm like, I think this is a panic attack, but I'm not sure. What should I do? And then gradually started feeling a little better. Multiple waves of panic attacks at night. My husband comes back and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I think I'm having panic attacks, but I'm fine. So get through the night, felt better the next day. But and that was it back in August. And just from there, my anxiety was like ramped up every single day. I was just waking up anxious, trying to like keep it under wraps. I'm like, Corey, it was just a panic attack. You probably had too much. I was drinking Good Boys, which I love dearly, but they have caffeine in them and alcohol. And I was like, it's just probably not a good combination for me. I'm pretty sensitive to caffeine. Just get over it, kind of like telling myself, just get over it. You're fine. And my anxiety just kept escalating every day. I'd be walking my dogs and feeling dizzy. At work, just not feeling myself, feeling anxious. My blood pressure went up super high. I ended up going to the ER because my blood pressure was so high. And so then I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe all these feelings were my blood pressure's high. Well, then my blood pressure came down and I was still having those feelings. And my doctor's like, there's nothing wrong with your blood pressure. I don't know. You have anxiety. It's stress. Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay. And then I finally went to my doctor. I'm like, I think I need to take something for anxiety. I'm just not feeling great. I'm on the edge of panic attacks all the time. I just don't know what to do. So she prescribed me Prozac. And I've never been like a medication taker. I don't love it, but I'm like, hey, I need something. I got to get through this. So I started taking it and I took it for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Tried to go to work on Monday, could not get out of my car at work. I was just like, I can't get out of my car. I can't go into work. I was shaking like a leaf, sweating. I'm like, I just got to go home. So I drove home from work after sitting in the parking structure for probably a half hour. Drove home from work, panic attacks my whole way home from work, worried I was going to pass out. I was so scared. Got home, had to call my boss and have a real moment with her. And I was scared. I'm like, I have to call my boss and tell her I can't go to work because I have anxiety. How does this sound? Like, is this going to make me look in this job that I have? So I called her and I just was honest with her. And it was probably the first person I was truly honest with about how I was feeling. I'm like, I drove to work today and I couldn't get out of my car. I had so much anxiety and panic. I said, I don't know. I'm not normally this weak person, but I just need to stay home until I can get myself together. I don't know if I need to take an FMLA or what. And luckily, she was so kind to me. She's like, Corey, you're so strong. You're one of my strongest people I have. Take the time off, take vacation time until you can figure it out. Let me know how you're doing. Do not answer any calls or emails from work. Do not look at anything from work. Just, concentrate on getting better. So thank God she said that, because I was so worried about, on top of having these other feelings, I'm like, I need my job to live. So I ended up taking 2 weeks off of work total. I quit taking the medication on day 4. It made me so sick. I could not eat a thing for probably a week after I started taking the medication. It just really, they say that Prozac can kind of wreak havoc on your stomach because you have a lot of serotonin. So it does react with your stomach if you're starting to try to take it. And my stomach just could not handle it. So I did lose 10 pounds in 1 week. And I was like, this is not the way I wanted to lose weight. It was terrible. And I just started doing a lot of research. I had a therapist that I was working with, but you don't talk to your therapist every single day, and you only get an hour with them. And so I just started doing a ton of research on Facebook and online, just looking up anxiety and how it affects you and how to get out of this time, because I was still sitting at home shaking like a leaf and scared to move. Like, I sat on my couch all day long because I was scared to get off of my couch and move, because I thought if I got up, I was going to get dizzy or stop breathing or just fall on the floor and pass out. So I started doing a ton of research, found some a really great woman on Facebook who talks a lot about anxiety and how it affects you, and found a really good book called Dare that and there's also an app that goes with it, and I just started following it every single day. And I did become a little obsessed. My husband probably really thought I was going crazy because I would just journal all day long, and I would write a list at the beginning of the day. This is my goal for today. My goal is to get up and exercise, even if it's just for 10 minutes, something small. Take a shower. I was scared to take a shower because every time I got in the shower, my thoughts would go wild. I couldn't stop my thoughts when I showered. They just all started going down a crazy path, I don't even know where. And walking my dogs was a big thing for me. And then going to the grocery store. Every time I walked in the grocery store, I felt like I was everything got dizzy and everything just started swirling, like I had 5 shots of tequila or something, but there was none. There was no drinking. So I just started doing a lot of research, how can I get out of this? And the more I started researching and journaling and exercising, the better I started feeling. So I just kept going with it and started using this DARE approach that I read about, and kind of just turning around the way I was thinking about things and trying to turn my thoughts more positive. I realized over the course of researching that over the course of the summer, I had stopped exercising in the beginning of June. I was having a very lazy summer. I wasn't exercising at all. And when I stopped exercising, and I don't know if that was my trigger, because I exercise a lot. I'm big on Orange Theory Fitness. I love going there. A lot of my support system is there too. A lot of the people I work out with. Well, I had stopped exercising, and I was just kind of talking down on myself, worried about, are you good enough at your job? Are you good enough at home? Are you a good enough mom? A good enough wife? And I was starting to have all these negative thoughts in my head, which I didn't really realize until I started really researching and had this time at home to think about the way I was talking to myself and the things I was doing. And I really had to change the way I was talking to myself and the way I was treating myself. I have a whole lot of compassion for others and empathy for others, but I didn't have a whole lot for myself. Was not giving myself very much grace with things going on in my life. So even if I wasn't believing the things I was saying to myself when I first started trying to turn my talk around, I was saying it anyway. Like if I had a negative thought about myself, I would be like, no, you're great. You got this. You can do this. Like really trying to turn it around, even if in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, you so don't have this right now. But, and the more I did it, the more I was like, okay, I'm feeling better. I'm getting better. I started exercising again, even though I was so scared. I was waking up with so much nervous energy every morning. And one morning I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to get on the treadmill and I'm going to walk until I'm so tired that all this nervous energy is gone because I'm just exhausted. And I yanked out my treadmill, dusted it off, and got on it. And I probably walked for 45 minutes that morning until I wasn't jittery anymore. And I was just like, I'm going to do this every single morning until I start to feel better. And I did start feeling better. And it was weird. One morning I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not jittery anymore. And I'm still doing, and then finally I was able to get back to the gym, which I was very scared going back to the gym. My first day walking back in, I was like, am I going to have a panic attack? Am I going to have to run out? Like, what am I, and where's my exits if I want to get out of here quick? But got back to the gym. So I've been back 2 weeks now at the gym, and like my gym people are such a great support to me. As soon as they read my Facebook post, they were like, I can't believe you went through that. If you need anything, we're here for you. Or, hey, my daughter, my wife went through this. They're going through it. Thank you for sharing. So they have been like such a huge support with going back. So I have been so comfortable going back to the gym and being with them. So it's been wonderful.
Are you back at work, or how long were you off work?
I was off work for 2 weeks. I took 2 weeks off. I really wanted to take a third off, but I thought to myself, you're starting to feel better. My husband was noticing. He's like, you're doing a lot better. And I was still nervous, was still really quite nervous, but I'm like, you know what, Corey? You got to go back to work. If you take another week off, you're just going to be perpetually nervous about going
Mhm.
back. So just go back and see how you feel. If you need to go home in a half day, you go home in a half day. And that's it. So I went back the first day, pretty much shaking. I was nervous, but I was also excited. So I was trying to take my nervousness and say, okay, maybe you're not as nervous as you are excited, because there are a lot of the same feelings, the nervous and excitement, which is something I've also learned through my anxiety. Is nervousness and excitement are almost the same thing. So if you can take that nervousness and say, I'm excited about this. I'm not nervous, I'm excited. It helps. So I went into work and I'm like, I'm excited about going back to work. And I wanted to see my friends. I wanted to see the people I work with. I love my job. I love what I do. I have such a passion for the people we take care of and my team that I take care of. It was so hard for me to be gone from work. I was having a lot of guilt and a lot of anxiety about being away from work. So once I got to work and I made it through a day, I was like, all right, you got this, you can do this. And so I got home and it was a little scary at times. I had a little anxiety, but I did it. And the next day was better. Each day I feel like I got a little more confident with going. The first day I probably didn't leave my office very much. I stayed in my office, and then each day I ventured out of my office a little more, trying to connect
Mhm.
with people, make sure I'm having those conversations and those people connections, which I feel like is something that's so important with anxiety, because it can be so isolating and so lonely that that you do have to make sure to reach out to people, because you feel like a burden. You don't want to tell people, "Oh, I have anxiety." Like you feel like you're a burden to people. I just kind of gave that up really quick. I'm like, "You know what? My friends are my friends. They love me. I put up with all their problems. They put up with all mine. They're going to love me even with my anxiety." And I just kind of had to throw my shame about it to the side in order to get through it. And I think that's helped a lot too, is being honest with people. Like, hey, I'm pretty anxious right now, but I'm gonna do this. And I feel like people have been so receptive to that, and knowing that I have this and I'm trying to get through it. So it's been really helpful. But definitely being with people is such a huge thing, because I was at a point when I was at home for that 2 weeks, my first week, I didn't answer a text message. I didn't answer the phone when people were calling me, because I didn't know what to say. I'm like, "Do I tell them I have anxiety?" Like, how dumb does that sound? Like, that's what I felt like. Like, they're gonna think it's stupid. They're gonna be like, "Just don't have anxiety and, go." And a couple of my friends did say that, like, in a nice way, like, not in a mean way, but, like, "It's just anxiety, just do it." But if you aren't someone who's really anxious and has had panic attacks, you just don't have that understanding of the anxious mind and how it can really be detrimental. So, that was a little it was good going back to work and being with people.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I've written so many things down because you've just made me think of so many things, but what's really funny is, yeah, I mean, I hate to keep going back to the point that we met and knew each other so long ago, but I always looked at you as, like, my tough friend. I look back at those years and I'm like, "Andrew, what the heck was wrong with you?" Because you were not cool ever. And
Oh,
I
you were
just
too.
I just, like, I got so upset when, like, if anyone made fun of me, I had such thin skin, back then, like, I just every time someone said something about me that was negative, I believed it and carried it with me, and I always was, "Corey, look at her, like, she's tough, she doesn't care when people say those things," or I always thought if I need somebody, like, I want someone like her in my corner. I always thought that about you, always. And just hearing you say, like, I didn't wanna be a weak person and I'm tough. So you just really remind me that even if people have that tough exterior, you don't truly know what's going on with them. Or are they just afraid to really show what's going on because they don't want to seem weak? So it was really interesting to hear you say that. Not that you've had anxiety like this your whole life, but just how sometimes we try to put on these like tough exteriors to help us get through things like that. And it's really not a sign of weakness when you kind of let your guard down. So that was really interesting to me to hear you say like, "Oh, I can't even call my boss." And I am sure so many people can relate to that. But then you also made me think of another friend of mine. I often talk about over the last few years, I've been trying to build up on my relationship with God and my faith and my belief. And I'm part of this Bible study. I've had a couple of people from that study on here as guests. This other woman, I really want to have her when she's ready. I'm going to make sure she listens to this episode. She didn't necessarily have anxiety, it was more depression, but I feel like when I met her, she always recalled this time in her life where she went through this awful depression. It just was a really hard time in her life. And I feel like when I met her, she was waiting for the other foot to drop. Like, it happened before, it's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen
Yes.
again. So, like,
Yeah.
listening to you talk, it's like that's what you felt. Like, "Oh my gosh, if I go to work, it's gonna happen again. If I do this, it's gonna
Mhm.
happen again." Can you relate to that?
Oh, 100%. Like, that actually actually had that conversation with my therapist a couple times because the last few times I met with her, I was like, "You know what? I am feeling really, really good, so much better. I've been following the steps in this program I've been working. I feel great, but I'm scared to actually say that I feel good
Mhm.
because I'm waiting for that moment that it creeps back up on me." So, I don't wanna say I feel great and then all of a sudden get back into where I was. So, oh my gosh, that resonates so much with me because yeah, and I feel like that's how an anxious person kinda lives their life is waiting for that shoe to drop because you're never fully in the moment. You're thinking about the future and what's gonna happen, and if I'm too happy and this sounds kinda weird because sometimes I'll be like, I can't let myself be too happy because if I'm too happy, something bad's gonna happen. And that's kind of how I things I've that's what I've been trying to work through a lot because I still have that feeling, not as much as I used to, but I can totally understand that feeling 100%.
Life has a funny way of reminding us that we can't plan for everything, but we can prepare for what matters most. That's why I'm so thankful for today's sponsor, Tammy Brown Insurance Agency. Tammy and her team don't just sell policies, they build relationships. Whether you're protecting your home, your car, or your family's future, Tammy takes the time to really listen and find coverage that fits your life. As a mom, a homeowner, and a Michigander, I love knowing that I've got someone local in my corner who actually cares, not just about my insurance, but about my peace of mind. So if you've been putting off checking your coverage, take this as your sign. Call Tammy Brown Insurance Agency or visit the Tammy Brown Agency Facebook page and tell them the Show Me the Way podcast sent you. because when life takes a turn, it helps to have someone who can show you the way back to security. Yeah, and that's got to be a difficult way to live, but something, and again, I'm sure you had your husband and a lot of people that love you say, "What do you mean? You're awesome and you're fine and you're great." And that's awesome to hear, but it really is such a personal journey. You really, people can say what they want, but you have to really be the one that changes your mindset. And what's very spectacular to me here is when you look back, and again, it's probably, you're probably thinking whatever, but to me from an outside perspective, like it really wasn't that long. It probably seemed like a long time when you were going through it, but it's really
Mhm.
just been a couple months. Like look at how much you've been able to do in a short period of time. Instead of letting this linger, you were like, no, like this is where this thick skin comes in. This is where this strong, powerful woman comes in, because you're like, I'm not gonna let this bring me down for very long. So it's so impressive that you were like, let me find a book, let me find an app, let me journal, let me like, fix myself sooner than later. So that's really impressive. And I'm guessing the longer you're in an anxiety situation, the more difficult it would be to get out. So it's very impressive that you were like, what can I do? How can I fix this? And just diving into the research. I feel like a lot of people just wouldn't do that in such a short period of time. So,
Well, I think I got lucky for sure with finding the things I found because they were things there's a million things you can find to help with your anxiety. And I think I got lucky and blessed that I happened upon these things because this woman on Facebook really like just spoke to me the way that she talked about anxiety and also this the Dare book that I read because what they said is and it made me feel so much better immediately that anxiety isn't a mental health issue. Anxiety is an emotional dysregulation, and you don't have to have anxiety forever. It's something that you can cure, and it's in you. It's not a medication. Medication can be a tool to help you, but it's not going to cure you. That every tool you need to get through this is in yourself. And you're right, it probably is. I'm stubborn and I'm strong-willed and I've worked so hard to get to where I am in my life. And all I could think was my life depends on me getting through this phase and getting out of this anxiety. This is not how I want to live. I don't want to be trapped in my house, scared to walk out my front door. Like, this is not me. I have a vacation planned. Like, I want to go on my vacation. Like, not just getting back to work, but you just want to live your life. And my kids are grown. And I think that's part of it too, is my kids are grown. I don't have to worry about them anymore. And I have the job I strove for. And I feel like I had time to like really think about myself. And it was not so constructive at first. It was really destructive for me because I think that's how I ended up in this anxious state. I started overthinking so many things in my life and myself. But then once I really started looking inward and thinking about being compassionate to myself and treating myself better and following this program and this woman on Facebook, I was like, okay, I have these tools. I can get out of this. Like, if she can do it, I can do it. And if, these other people can do it, I can do it. I'm strong. I can do this. And my life depended on it. And that's kind of how I went into it as my life depends on getting out of this anxiety and out of this panic.
yeah, and I think you touched on some very important things that, again, as we talked about before we got on here, so many people can relate to. And I know you said you were surprised that you shared a vulnerable post on Facebook and people then started commenting. And you realized there's so many people out there that are dealing with things that they don't know how to control, they don't know how to fix, they think they just have to live that way, and then they see someone else and they say, "Wow, I'm not alone, and I could do some of the things that she's doing too." I always hear how important journaling is, and that's super easy. You don't have to purchase anything unless you wanna buy a fancy book. You can write wherever you want.
Mhm.
So, doing things like that, writing down what's on your mind, like giving yourself grace, trying to talk yourself through it. When you said changing nervous to excitement because they're similar feelings, that is a decision that you have to make. And it sounds a little bit like fake it till you make it, but in that situation, it makes perfect sense to try to do that, try to adjust. Even when we were talking about this podcast, you said a couple of times, I'm excited to do it, but I know you were nervous. So you
100%.
yeah, so you even did that there, which is that's really cool that to hear
Mhm,
to actually see that you did that. And I mean, it's so, so different, but it makes me think so much about all of these stories remind me of similar things I went through when I found out about my son's diagnosis. You like can really spiral. Even listening to you talk as you were going through it, you're spiraling. Like you're thinking, "Oh gosh, what's tomorrow going to bring? What's 2 weeks from now? What's going to happen in 3 months?" Like
mhm,
and you spiral and it's so hard to get out of that. And I think people that maybe I mean, I have never had a panic attack per se, but I've definitely had feelings like that or thoughts like that and it's so hard to get out of it. And so the simplest thing that I've learned is one day at a time because if I think about what's Nathan going to be like when he's 18, 22, 25,
mhm.
like you it is pure panic, pure panic
Yes.
to think that way. And so it's so much easier for me to say one day at a time and I tell so many people that and it sounds so cliche, but it is so very true and it's how I've gotten through difficult times and it sounds like you almost had to remind yourself of that.
Yeah, and that is and I'm sure you can probably agree to this, it is so much harder than it sounds to stay in the present moment sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It's really easy to think about something dumb you said in the past or something you could have done different or look to that future and think, "Oh my gosh, what is gonna happen in the future?" Especially, like, with your son and, like, all those things, and it's so easy to get stuck, and I still struggle with that. I don't think I fully understand really how to stay in the moment. It's really hard for me. I think I'm getting better at it the more I go through this journey with anxiety, because even as we sit here and talk, I will tell you, I still have anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
Is it better? Yes. I mean, I feel 100% better than I felt a month ago, but I know it's there still, and it still makes me nervous, but, I'm working through it, and I don't think I'll ever get back to where I was because I know I have these tools. But I do have this and it's funny you brought up about, like, staying in the present because I have this positive quote book that I read every morning. I read a quote every day, and one of my favorite ones, I look at it every single day, no matter, like, what day it is. It's a quote from Buddha, actually, about the secret of health for both mind and body is not to mourn for the past, not to worry about the future or anticipate troubles, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. So I try to think about that every single day, especially when I'm getting so far ahead of myself, worried about something that probably isn't even going to happen. I just think, no, just don't worry about that. Just stay here. Like, stay in this moment. Don't worry about that. Or if it's something I know that I am nervous about, I try to tell myself, this is be excited. Don't be nervous, be excited. So that's kind of how I try to keep myself in the present moment and not worried about the future so much.
I think that is really great advice for so many people. I'm even getting back to what I said at the beginning, the holidays are coming up and
Yeah.
sometimes I get frustrated when people say, "Oh, I hate the holidays." I'm like, "How can you hate the holidays? You're decorating and there's beautiful songs that everyone's singing and there's all these fun movies and there's family time." But then I'm like, "Okay, slow down, like Pollyanna." Yeah, there are a lot of things to get nervous or anxious about when you do expect a big crowd or you want everything to be perfect or did you do enough service? Did you give enough to the poor?
Mhm.
Did you make enough of the cookies? Did you get the right gifts for your family? I mean, there's so many things that you can pack on.
Yeah.
So I do respect people that say they have a hard time during the holidays. I get it, but I love again going back to instead of being nervous, be excited. Like, oh, I'm so nervous. I have 30 people coming to my house. How am I going to make enough food or like the turkey is gonna be cold by the time everything else is done. Like, how am I gonna plan all of this? But instead of focusing on all of that, this is a really good lesson for me and for everybody. Like, be excited about seeing the people that are coming over. Most of the time, probably all of the time, the people don't care if your bathrooms were clean this morning
Right.
or last week. And they don't care if there's a blanket all bunched up in the corner on the couch or if it's perfectly fluffed with pillows in place. Like people don't really care about that stuff, no matter how much we tell
Mhm.
ourselves they do. And and you should just really try to focus on the positives, and I'm gonna try that too because I do want everything to be perfect all the time, and it really takes away. I used to get mad at myself. I like to host, I like to have people over, I like to have parties and gatherings, and people would come over, and then maybe there'd be 5 or 6 people that couldn't come, and I would find myself focused on, "Ugh, they said they were coming and they didn't come," and I would, like, focus on that instead of the beautiful people that are in the room.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so, these are really good reminders for all of us. That's why I was like, wow, you're right. Like people need to hear what you're saying. So if you can try to replace and you're not going to be perfect at this, but if you can replace some of the nervous feelings to excitement, to really call on that word, I think that is a great little easy tip. Another easy tip that you can do on your own.
Yeah, and also what you said, letting go of the perfectionism.
Yeah.
I think that's hard as a wife and as a mother and in the workforce too. You want to be perfect. You don't want to disappoint anybody ever. And it's so hard to let go of that need to be perfect. And I feel like I've just kind of let that go a little bit too. I was decorating one of our trees yesterday and I'm putting this ribbon on and I'm like, oh God, I don't like the way this ribbon looks. Like, ugh, like I'm gonna have to take this ribbon out and do it all over again. And this morning I'm like, the ribbon looks fine. I left it there last night because I had to go do something else. And I left it there, and this morning I'm like, "The ribbon looks fine. Like, what are you stressing about this stupid ribbon on the tree that somebody else is gonna look at for 2 minutes and probably be
Mhm.
like, 'Oh, your ribbon's really beautiful.' And you're stressed out about a dumb ribbon." So, I have had to remind myself a little bit to, like, let that go some, and
Mhm.
that has actually done a lot for me, is to let go of the need to be perfect, to look perfect, to act perfect in front of people. I really, like, and that was kind of some of my posts last week on Facebook. I wanted to see people to see, like you said, I do have this like tough exterior where I don't like to let people see my weaknesses. I feel like if they see my weakness, how are people going to look at me as a leader and as the woman that I am and want people to see? And then I was like, you know what? I just have to let that go a little bit and let people see that I have these vulnerabilities, but I feel like it's made my life so much easier to not try to.
Yeah, no, that is spot on. And again, just so much of what you're saying I can relate to. And I think too, like I'm such a different person than I was before my son's diagnosis. Y People say, "Oh, everything happens for a reason." Okay, there's a lot of things we can't understand, and we don't truly know
Mhm.
the reason, but one of the reasons that my son was diagnosed was just to show people that he interacts with this perspective on life because I was very much well, I think my family would disagree, but I feel like I was more of a perfectionist then than I am now. Feel like I've calm that down a little bit, but again, they might disagree. And I just am like, whatever, it's messy, I'll just do it, or something that I've taught him because he's also OCD. Everyone says, "Where does he get that from?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not like that anymore." But but I guess I am. And I always tell him, "That's good enough. It's good enough. It's good
Mhm.
enough." And I think it's kind of hitting him a little bit like with schoolwork. Sometimes he'll write all this stuff out and then his hand hurts. And I'm like, you know what? You did great. That's good enough. And I think sometimes it's clicking with him. So just again, phrases or things that you can tell yourself and you can train your brain to think
Mhm.
about are really important. And again, you don't have to spend all kinds of money. It's a little teeny tiny change in life, a little word, a little phrase that you could say to yourself that makes a big difference. So yeah, with that tree, you know what? It's good enough. It looks great.
Mhm.
Everyone's going to be happy. And my son wants to decorate our tree today, which means he will ride out on his wheelchair and order me on where to put things. That's
I
what
love
that means.
that.
But, I'm gonna remember that today, like, it's good enough, who cares if one side has more ornaments than the other, it's good enough, so that's an important thing to remember, and with Christmas coming up, like, that's good enough, the food will be great,
Mhm.
so little
Yes.
things like that to remind yourself, I think these are such great lessons for us all.
Right, and who's gonna
Yeah.
remember where the ribbon is on the tree? They're
Yes.
gonna remember
Nobody.
the fun you had and the conversations you had and, just being there with them,
Yeah,
but, yeah, no
exactly.
one's gonna care about my ribbon on the tree as much as I would probably like them to care about all the time I
Right.
put into it.
Well, yeah, and it even reminds me of a conversation I had the other day with my mother-in-law. I get really weird about having too much food, which is strange because I'm Italian and my family has always had way more than you could possibly need. So I don't know. I have this like waste issue. Like I don't want to buy too much. I want to eat everything we have so that we don't have all these leftovers. I don't know why that my brain is functioning like that.
Right. Yep.
And if nobody eats it, who cares? Like why do I stress about that?
Yes, letting go of the things you can't control or the
Yes.
things you shouldn't have to worry about controlling. That's a huge thing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that takes me to my next segue. Have you read the Let Them theory?
I have not. I've watched some of her podcasts and I really do want to read it because I think it is, from what I gather from what my friends have talked about it, is something that would really resonate with me. Like, you don't have to worry about what everyone else is doing. Let them do their own thing. Like my son, actually, he went to Colorado this weekend for a karate camp, and it was killing me not to oversee every single thing he packed in his suitcase. And I was like, you know what, Corey? Like, he waited until Friday morning. He was leaving Friday morning. He waited until Friday morning to start putting stuff in his suitcase. And I was like, I was almost out of my mind. And I'm like, you know what? He is an adult. You need to let him do this the way he needs to do it. And if he forgets something, then he forgets something and he has to learn from it. You don't have to live with it. So, especially I think as your kids get older and grow up, that is huge. So I do want to read that book because I think it would be very important for me. One of my I have a fancy journal I write in now. I started off writing in like my just Mead 5-star notebook, my rambling journal from when I started with anxiety, and then I actually bought one I really like. And on the front page it has 5 things you want to quit doing. And one of mine is quit worrying about things I cannot control. So, it's still a huge struggle. I'm sure it will always be a struggle as a mom and as a wife and the job I do, but, I have really tried to work on letting that stuff go. If I can't control it, why am I worrying about it? Because it is out of my hands. So
For
that's
sure.
something I've really been working on.
And I just happen to have a copy right next
Oh,
to me.
yeah.
So if you need me to send it your way, but you probably should buy your own so you can take notes in it
Yeah,
because
definitely.
I think you will really relate with it. I love it. It just so much of what you're saying, like you said, you're not alone because so much of what you're saying I can relate to. And I've been worrying about things I can't control my whole life or worrying about what others think about me
Yes.
or how they're going to take it. Like even a post on Facebook, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be vulnerable, like how you were talking about
Mhm.
that and
Yeah.
worrying how people are gonna take it, and it's crazy, the older we get, the less we care about that, like, I'll
Mhm.
go live on Facebook or Instagram without much makeup on, and, like, when I was 20, 25, I never would have done that, ever.
Right.
You couldn't have paid me to do that. So, yeah, everything you're saying, and I like to give, the Let Them Theory, Mel Robbins, a lot of credit because I just think it's such a great book and such a great concept. Now, again, I like to put a caveat because I'm really trying to build on my faith and say that God is in control
Mhm.
ultimately. But what you said is spot on that we are the only ones that can control our own emotions and ourselves. We cannot control how someone takes what we say, how someone packs for a trip, how someone, you made me think of my son. When you post about your son, it's very similar to my feelings with my 19-year-old. And, he's away at school and it's like, I just have to let him figure things out. You have to think to yourself, well, I've taught him a lot. Hopefully it was good enough,
Yeah.
but he's already got a better head on his shoulder than I did at 19. So there's something to say about that.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're so spot on that you can only worry about how your reaction is going to be. So that's a great lesson. And again, you've learned these things in a short period of time. Yes, it's a work in progress, but going back to giving yourself grace, just keep reminding yourself all the amazing things you've done so far, like how great you have been with yourself so far. And yes, it's going to take continued work. You're going to always have to remind yourself of these things. You're going to probably need to keep journaling. I probably should journal. You are definitely inspiring me to do a couple of things here, but you have to take one day at a time and just remind yourself of these things. And it's great that you are already ahead of the game with that. So keep reminding yourself of that. And the other thing that I was going to suggest to you too is which I want to do with another friend of mine. I bought a whole pack of Post-its. And, if you ever see a quote or there's something you want to remind yourself, write it on a Post-it and put it on your mirror in your bathroom so that you see it, or put it on your computer. So when you open your computer, it's there. Because
Mhm.
I think seeing something in front of your face all the time, like one day at a time, or God's got this, or let them, seeing those
Mhm.
things also trains your brain. And it reminds me, just like I have this little tattoo on my wrist that says TNT, which sometimes I think means dynamite, but generally,
I love it.
generally means today, not tomorrow, because it's
Mhm.
such a good reminder, like, of living in the present. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
definitely.
think constantly writing it and putting it in front of your face makes a big difference too.
Yeah, and I talk to myself a lot when I'm looking in the mirror too. If I'm brushing my teeth, I'll tell myself, and I actually got this from the Dare book I was reading. I say I love myself, which sounds so silly, but it actually works. So I'll just look in the mirror and be getting ready to brush my teeth, and I'll be like, I love myself. Or if I'm at work, I'm washing my hands, I'll just be like, I love myself. Like, hey, I'm not too bad. So that's something I learned from that book I read. Yeah, just talk to yourself. Say, I do like myself. I am a good person. I'm doing the best I can, instead of all the negative, oh, you're not good enough, or oh, I can't believe you look like that today, or, all the other things. I'm really trying to replace those thoughts. And yeah, I think the post-it notes is a great idea. I'm going to have to do that too. My husband's going to be like, what are all these post-it notes in the bathroom for?
Just be like, you know what? You need to read them too.
He does, yeah.
They're
Well,
for
he knows.
you too.
He has been putting up with all of my newfound things I'm doing very well. He's like, "Okay,
Good.
hey, if this is helping you, do it. It works. Like,
Yes.
keep it going."
Yes, I love that. Well, that is that in sickness and in health, right?
Yes. Oh,
Yes,
yeah, he's
well,
definitely
good.
gone through that the last month. He has earned that for sure.
Yes. Well, I will say that, again, you pointed it out. You can look at people on Facebook and sometimes it looks like everything's perfect and you don't truly know what's going on. But I will say, following you and the how you guys got married and how you continue to be there for one another, and just listening to you talk today, I know that you have a very strong support system and a lot of love there. So
Mhm. Yes, and that
I'm very
has
grateful for
been.
that. Yeah.
Me too. Yes, it has
Yeah.
been so helpful. I remember when I first, like, the first week I had all this anxiety, I remember going up to him and I was like, 'cause I was just anxious about everything, and I'm like, "Please don't leave me. Like, please, I'm gonna try to get better, don't leave me." And he's like, "What is wrong with you? I'm not going to leave you." He's like, "Yeah, I'm worried about you." But that was, like, a real concern, and for him, he said that to me, and I was like, "Okay, you gotta let that one go now.
Yep.
He's not gonna leave you over your anxiety, you gotta let that go
Right.
and move on to something else to be anxious about."
Well, and
So,
right, and then you can put yourself in his shoes, like, if something like that happened with him, you would be right there by his side.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, for sure.
yeah, so, sometimes it's good to think about that way too, and I think that's with a partnership. I mean, sometimes when they're weak, we have to be strong and vice versa, and I
Yep.
think it works out that way. So, you will be there for him when he needs you, because he will. He will.
Mhm.
There's gonna be a time in his life that he goes through something like this, and you're gonna have to be there for him. So, of course, he's gonna be there with you. That's what love and partnership is all about, so I'm glad
Yes,
that he
not
said that
always
to you.
easy.
Nope, it is not, that's for sure. Yeah, gosh, just listening to you, and I'm not trying to make this about me, but I mean, I can relate. So I know that so many people can, and you're not alone, and very, very grateful to you for being vulnerable and for sharing and putting it out there. And I just think it's very timely as well. I had like some other questions, but I feel like you kind of touched on everything that I was bringing up. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. You talked about this. Again, all my guests do this without even being prompted. For the second season, I'm trying to focus more on the importance of having your village and your community. And I think that even without saying it's a focus, it just naturally comes up. I just think
Mhm.
we're not meant to do any of this alone. I think that's why COVID and the pandemic was so tough, because so many of
Yeah.
us felt like we were by ourselves. And it's like, no,
Mhm.
we have to be around people. So I love that you said you had people at work and your Orange Theory community, and just how important the village was.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like with anxiety, it gives you, like, you want to isolate when you're anxious. You don't want to be around people. You are scared to be around people because 'cause you're scared of if you're gonna panic and make a fool of yourself, or if you're gonna pass out, and you're just nervous to be around people. And I just kind of figured out, even though I'm nervous to be around people, I need them. like I need to be able to talk to them. Talking about it, like you said, it's therapeutic. It is therapeutic to talk about it, and that's one of the reasons I did start talking about it, because it was a bit selfish in a way, because it helps me to talk about it, and it helps other people too. So it made me feel good that I was helping other people, but it was also helping me to talk about it and get it all out there. And just being around your friends and knowing that your friends accept you for who you are. My family accepts me for who I am. Knowing I don't always have to be this tough exterior. I can be like, oh, I'm having a bad moment. And they'll be like, oh, okay, let's talk about it. Or let's go out to dinner and talk about it, or take your mind off of it. It's just, you have to have those people in your corner.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. So I'm glad that you touched on that. Well, gosh, I've learned so much, and I know that our
I feel like I
listeners will too.
rambled endlessly.
No, not at all. You were everybody's therapist today.
Oh gosh.
But I do want to say, and I mean, it's again easy for me to say you have to figure this out on your own. I understand that, but I hope and pray that you don't continue to look for that other foot to drop, because that's a very sad way to live each day,
Mhm,
to always think that's gonna happen, and I feel the same with my other friend I was talking about, and I think what we say means so much. Our brain takes what we say, and sometimes things happen because we keep saying it over and over. So
mhm.
I hope and pray that you continue on this journey of healing, and you continue to be open to reading books, to reading the Let Them theory, to following that Dare app, to journaling, and to constantly having this really great self-talk. I hope and pray that you can keep that up. It's hard, but I hope that you can keep that up, and just keep looking for all the positivity like you're doing. I really, really hope that for you. And I'm gonna say, let's cross that out. There's not another foot dropping. Like
Right.
you made it. You made it through your bad time, and you're just gonna keep getting better and keep teaching and sharing your story to help others. So I appreciate that so much. I want to give you one last opportunity if you think there's another piece of advice, although you've given us so much. But if there's
Goodness.
something else you would want to leave for our listeners.
Well, thank you. I just wanna say thank you so much for having me. I was so nervous, and you actually made this, like, it was actually really fun.
Good,
Um,
good.
One thing I do that I did not touch on at all is I meditate every day, which I was so nervous about starting, because I was like, "How can I sit still and actually do this?" And I do love it. I feel like it grounds me. I only do for 8 minutes every day, just simple breathing techniques, nothing dramatic, so it doesn't ever have to be a dramatic meditation, but it does help me. I do it at the beginning of my day every day, and it just starts my day with a sense of calm, and it's really helped me. So that's one thing, that one other takeaway is the meditation has been huge, for just helping ground me and feel that sense of calm at the beginning of a day.
That is great advice. And you're right. It's hard to even think about. Can I sit still for 8 minutes?
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see how that would do that. So, gosh, such good advice for people that are really in the midst of anxiety or a crisis, or for those
Mhm.
of us that just want to find a little more center, a little more calm in each day.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this was great and so much fun to hear your voice and just go down memory lane a little bit. But,
Mhm.
I give you so much credit. You're the first guest I've had that said, I want to tell my story. I want to be on your show. So I really like that. And I hope more people will continue to follow you in that regard. But, as you go into the holiday season, just like I said, I hope you remember all these things that you shared with us today. If you need, you'll have to come back and listen to this podcast and listen to yourself sharing these really good pieces of advice, because we're not perfect. And I know that not every day
Mhm.
is going to be butterflies and sunshine, but I just am very impressed by how you took this and you said, this is how I'm going to fix it. This is how I'm going to heal myself. And a lot of us really need to remember that we are the only ones that we can control. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And thank you so much for being a guest. And I cannot wait to drop this episode.
Oh, goodness. Well, thank you. Thank you for inspiring me, with everything you do, and these podcasts that you do are inspiring, and watching what you do every day is inspiring. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words. It means so much to me. And yeah, I think I'm really appreciating the fact this has turned into more of a therapy session and an opportunity for me to let people share what's on their hearts, and just jump in with occasional questions, because we can all learn from one another. So thank you for saying that. Thank you for joining me for the Show Me the Way podcast. I truly appreciate you tuning in to today's episode about overcoming adversity and finding your path. I hope it brought you new insights, empowered you with perspective, and inspired you to find joy in your journey. If this episode touched your heart, don't forget to leave a quick review as it will help us reach and motivate more people. Until next time, keep seeking the light and showing the way.